Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the I Thrive podcast. It's your boy, Sundin Esperance. Today, I got with me sister Tiyana Hicks, who not too long ago, I had her mom, uh, Tymika Hicks, correct? Tymika
Yes,
Hicks. So it's very grateful to be able to have one of her daughters to come on and share her testimony as well. How are you doing today, sis?
I'm doing good. And actually, my name is like my mom, so it's Tiyana.
Oh, Tayana,
My
not
name is
Tiana,
Ty.
Tayana. So Tymika
Yeah,
Tayana, the Ty.
yes.
I understand. I understand. No,
But I'm doing pretty good.
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you very much for taking the time to come on. As I say, moreover, brothers and sisters, I'm really grateful for those of you who are able to take the time and come on because I know how encouraging for myself these testimonies are and how much I'm learning a lot where I could take what I'm learning from these podcasts and apply it to my, real everyday life. What it is a sister can say, a brother could say, or even a mother, God willing, in due time when I could get those testimonies as well. Before we begin, as you know, this podcast affiliates itself with one church and one church only. That is First Church of our Lord Jesus Christ, where the leader, teacher, and guide is none other but the Apostle Pastor Gino Jennings. If you want to get baptized right in the name of Jesus Christ, you can go on to truthofgod.com, fill up a baptismal request form, and God willingly, a local main point of contact or the local minister there will reach out to you and set all that up. If you want to know if there's a church close to your area, you can also go on the truthofgod.com, click locations, and see which one is the nearest towards you. Um, man, I'm truly grateful, brothers and sisters, to see another day, to be able to have another testimony on its way, and I'm really grateful to God for the apostle. And I mean, within the message that came yesterday, it's so much food. Like those of you who are constantly rejecting the apostles, saying this man's a false prophet, Sundin, he's a cult leader, he's a this and that. It's if a cult leader is giving stuff like this, then my compared to what history has showed, what cult leaders are really, it's unbelievable. Like I every time I hear the food and the message that's coming out, I'm always reminded of how much I don't even deserve it. But thank God for His mercy and His grace to allow me to be able to even hear such a thing where I could, because at the end of the day, when I'm listening to the message, it's about looking at myself, not worried about looking to see, oh, I wonder if it's that brother or that sister he's talking about. I'm focused on me and because I want to be right. Before we begin, um, this this week coming, Friday, December 31st, 2021 at 11 a.m. It's going to be a conversation of, it's like a seminar at end of year convention, relationships in holiness. The discussion's focal points is seeking and cultivating relationships, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Single, married in holiness. Why did I get married? Why am I not married? And the facilitator will be Minister Etheridge. I believe he oversees the Detroit location. Now, if you have any questions in advance that you would like to ask, because I know a lot of you have a lot of questions regarding relationships and stuff like that, you could send your questions to youth underscore captains at fcooljc.com. I repeat, youth underscore, there's no capital at all in what I'm telling you. Everything is lowercase. Youth underscore captains. So it's captain like in plural with the S at the end, at F for Frank, C for Charlie, O for Orange, L for love, J for Junior, C for Charlie.com. Send in your questions. Just send it in. God willing, it could be spoken about that day. It's going to be, the target audience is 50 years old and younger, but it's open to all. Friday, December 31st, 2021 at 11 a.m. The location is going to be First Church Headquarters Temple, the lower auditorium. Those of you that are wondering if you could watch it from Zoom, yes, you can. The Zoom info, please see your local temple secretary for the details. So I hope that's clear and cut. This is an opportunity to discuss relationships and holiness and receive godly counsel. Hope that you could all make it and be there. All right, that'll be enough from myself. we're gonna finally get the testimony of Sister Tiyana Hicks of First. So, sis, explain to us how it is for yourself. You came in to the truth of God.
How I came into the truth of God. Well, I was already a part of New Brunswick because Pastor Taylor is my grandfather. And I know we went to a service, one of the end of the year services. We went to 2 services. We went to one that was in Trenton, and then we went to one of the end of the year services. And prior to that, we had watched him on YouTube and things for a long time. I think on a telecast. I'm not sure if it was on YouTube, but it was on a TV for a long time. But it was kind of like sporadically. So didn't really appreciate it as much as I do now, and didn't really see how much more God has given him to give to the people. So we watched it for a while. And then at some point, I just started watching it a lot, like just was drawn to it. And I remember one day watching it in the living room, and the spirit was so heavy in one of the services. You could just see it through the TV. You could feel it. And I'm just thinking to myself, God, I got to get there. I have to be there. Like I have to be there. And then, so we went to a service. I had to look him up. And I was like, he's in Philly. That's only 30 minutes from us. That's close. And in my mind, he was so far. I just thought he was far away. But when I looked it up and saw it was only 30 minutes, like, oh, okay, so we can do this. So we went to one of the Trenton services that he was at. And then we went to the end of a year service. And I remember leaving that end of the year service. I think we left Saturday because our church has service on Sunday. And I remember that night in the hotel room, I cried so bad. I just cried so bad. I was like, I don't want to go. I wanted to stay for the Sunday service. And I just wanted to be there. And I understand more and more how he preaches and teaches that, you know, the Holy Ghost in you will recognize where the Lord is. And so I was just drawn to it. And I knew I wanted to be there. So I remember that night and I'm like, nope, I got to go back. So when I looked it up and saw it was close, then I kind of started going to the Thursday services that they had at headquarters. And then after that, things kind of happened so fast. And I just remember one day our pastor saying, you know, calling a meeting, and he was like, you know, we're going to join up with First Church. And I'm like, really? Yes. So we did. And it just kind of happened so fast after that. But we had watched it for a while, but then somewhere along the line, it was like, oh no, I have to have this. Like, I gotta be a part of it. It wasn't enough anymore to just watch him on TV and appreciate, oh, he's telling the truth. It wasn't enough. It was like, no, I'm supposed to be there. I have to be there. Wow. So then we just kind of joined in, and from then on, we've been here. Thank God.
That's wow. That's such a wonderful thing to hear, because the thing is, a lot of times, you know, I speak to, you know, Black women. Of course, I grew up a lot around a lot of Black women, and they will see, you know, PJ preach, and they're always telling me. I remember one told me, she said, you'll never see a Black woman under a man that preaches like that. I kid you not. She says, you will, and I just started laughing because she didn't know of how many was in there. And the reason she was targeting it, because the way PJ preached, it preached so much where, you know, a lot of Black women, they grew up with weave, wig, hair extension, and the makeup, the fake nails, the fake eye. Like, it's like as if it was our culture, as people would say. And that's where she said, look, I guarantee you will not get a Black woman to even go under that. But you had such an excitement. You had such a, like, man, like you needed to be there. Now, you didn't see that in terms of how he was preaching, you know, because you see how he preaches against, you know, how we should be dressed and so forth in a hard manner. Like, that didn't even affect you at all. Like, it seemed like you just had like a zeal to go after it right away.
Well, so we already had like a holiness background. So there were some things that we already were doing. And then prior to joining, it was just like God was having us do certain things, and we didn't do it, quote unquote, for the Lord, but we were just doing it. So for me, I have my cosmetology license. So I know all about like the weave. Braiding was my thing. Like, I can braid anything. So I know all about that. when you went to school, they taught you how to do nails. So you know how to do you knew how to do it all, makeup, all of it. Now, some things I didn't do because of our religion. And then other things I was just doing, and I think God was just preparing me so that when I did find out how much more strict it was, I would be okay with it. Like one of the things is my sisters and I just went natural. So we just stopped using a relaxer. And we didn't do it because we heard a teaching. We just were like, you know what? That would be good for your hair. That would be healthy. Stop getting relaxers. So we stopped getting relaxers. So that wasn't a problem. And then when on our journey of like, you know, taking care of our hair and stuff, we were like, you know, I'm just going to spend a whole year and just cover my head for a whole year. So I'm just going to keep my hair in like really large twists and so that it can grow out. And then I'm just going to cover my head for a whole year and see how much growth I get. Again, around that time, we joined with First Church and found out, okay, so the sisters keep their head covered in and out of church because we were only doing it in church. But we had already made up in our mind that that's what we were going to do anyway for the year. So like some things God was already having us go in that direction. So when we found out we had to do certain things, it was like, oh, well, we're kind of already doing this, so that's no problem. And then the skirt length was different because and kind of like an apostolic, you just needed to be at your knees. You needed to be at your knees. So we had to drop, you know, make them a lot longer. But again, it wasn't a problem. It really wasn't a problem, mostly because I just wanted to do right. And as long as he was backing up what he was saying with the scriptures, then just tell me what I got to do so I can do it. You have those things that are hard to do and hard to pull off. And I didn't want something so simple as covering my head or not wearing makeup. That wasn't really a struggle for me anyway. Just tell me and I can get that done. That's something easy I can do and work on the harder things.
Okay. And so doing that from such a young age, you know, being rooted of dressing, you know, a certain way where, you know, you're already coming up in a strict form. Whereas, did you have any struggles in terms of growing up as a kid, being around maybe school and classmates where, you know, they had their pants, they were able to kind of wear whatever they wanted to wear? Like, did you ever wonder, how come I can't dress this way? Why is it I have to be this way? Like, did that ever come about for you?
No, only because God blessed me to want to serve him at a very early age. So I actually received the Holy Ghost when I was 12. So a couple of years before that, I kind of had the same mindset, like whatever I got to do, let me just do. And I didn't really care. I just thank God. I just didn't care. I didn't care I just didn't care. I don't know how it's like, it really was not, I didn't care if somebody thought that I looked different, like I was comfortable with myself and how I did look. And I wore skirts that I thought were pretty, clothes that I thought was pretty. And that's all that mattered. As long as I thought that I was pretty or the clothes were, as long as I liked it, that's all that mattered. And I don't remember getting any flack from classmates or anything. I would get questions like, why do you have to do that? And you answer those questions. But I don't remember anybody saying anything negative about it or bad about it. Or if they did, again, I probably just didn't care or didn't notice.
Wow, no, that's wonderful to have that, you know, at a, you know, a very young age, to not have that care and just wanting to do right. It's a huge blessing to have. But in what advice then I would say would you have? Because I know there's some sisters where, you know, they have those struggles where some days they just feel like, man, I just don't want to have my head covered. Man, I don't want to wear this skirt. Man, I don't want to be dressed this way. What advice would you have to help out, especially the ones that are, you know, in like the high school phase and, you know, those, you know, a bit older as well, within their 20s, because they have, you know, those struggles as well. You had it at such a young age and you kept it, you didn't care. But what advice would you give to one struggling with that?
Honestly, so I have obviously a lot of younger siblings and I have younger sisters. And we talk about this all the time because for them, it was different. It wasn't like a no care attitude. And I honestly think that it comes with having more self-love for yourself. And so the point, and one thing I can thank God that my parents did do, at least with us older group, that we kind of got a lot more of, was to kind of worry about yourself, love yourself, and appreciate yourself. so that when you go out in the world, you're not thinking about what everybody else is thinking about you. So, and I try to tell my younger sisters, worry about you and make sure that what you're doing, you like what you're doing. I think there is beauty in covering your head, and there is beauty in wearing certain clothes and covering up. And then on the flip side, you kind of think if you wear certain other clothes that are maybe like provocative, the attention that you're going to get, is that really the attention that you want to get? If you wear certain things and a guy notices, is that really the type of guy you want? The one that only notice you because you dress that way? Are those really the friends you want? The ones that are only your friends because you dress that way? So not only having love for yourself, but then thinking strongly about who do you want around you? Like, who do you want in your circle? Because everything about you is going to draw them in. The way you look, the way you talk, the way you carry yourself. So if you're looking for high quality friends and high quality people to be around you, then present yourself that way and be proud to do it. And you're going to get negative comments sometimes. So I would say expect it. Be ready to answer those that you need to answer. And sometimes you don't need to give a response. So don't. But at the same time, just find the beauty within yourself. Find the beauty in what you're wearing. You don't have to wear dowdy clothes just because we got to be covered in holiness. And you don't have to wear stuff that you're always not comfortable with wearing. There are some really nice clothes out there for us. There are really nice hats, really nice coverings. And even in this day and time, people are wearing clothes that we wear in holiness just for style. So there's a lot that you can wear. So try to find some of those things, but definitely don't think that because we have to be covered up or because we got to cover our head that takes something away from you, because it actually makes you shine a lot more and it makes you stand out in a good way if you appreciate it and embrace that.
Wonderful. And how would you tell a mom in First Church to have that relationship with her daughter, to have that conversation where it is normal, where you may not want to dress like this all the time? Because you have some, like I say, I tell people all the time, I come from a Caribbean background, Haitian parents, where there's no conversation. It's you do this and that's it. If you want to do otherwise, you have the devil, you're going to hell, this and that, and so it's they think that's how you should be. You should be so down and vigorous and insulting. You're not going to be nothing. Oh, look at you. How can a mom have that conversation with their daughter? And how can that daughter go to their mother and say, hey, mom, I'm struggling with this? Because you have some, they do want to go, but they're scared. They're all scared based upon how their mom is going to react. Or they may have gone before and asked and try to talk about it with their mom, but then it was like they got yelled at, they got turned off in a way. Why should I come back to you? So what would you say in that instance?
I would say that parents as a whole have to be a little more transparent and don't have your child thinking that you got holiness wrapped up and you just do everything right, because that's not true. And the struggles that you do have that you're willing to share them so that they know, oh, you know what, mom does struggle with this a little bit, or how you overcame something, so that they know that, yes, there's some things in holiness that you don't want to do, because that's the truth. It doesn't matter how old you are. There are things in holiness that God wants you to do that is just that you naturally do not want to do. And you only make the effort because you want to be saved. That's the only reason why you make the effort. So I think parents have to be transparent and kind of have that conversation with their children and be open for conversations with their children. And so that they can bring those things to you and let you know, this is what I'm struggling with. And at the same time, you got to put yourself in a child's place. Like, you have to think, okay, if I was a child and if I was in that environment, how would I feel? And that is hard because you're not a child anymore. But at least make the attempt to try to see, okay, why are you thinking that way, and have that conversation open. And I would just say, as a parent, you kind of want your kids to be able to talk to you about anything. And I can say that for my parents, especially my mom, she's just, you can ask her anything. And sometimes we ask her some off the wall stuff, but we know she's going to give an honest answer. And she's going to try to break it down the best that she can. So I think a lot of parents need to do that. Like you said, your parents are kind of just no nonsense, no talk, no conversation. This is just what we're going to do. And that's good in some areas. And then there are also, they have to see a softer side of you. Yeah. They have to be able to approach you to even let you know that they're messing up, they're struggling. And how do you deal with your struggles, and how do you deal with the things that are hard for you? So I think they just have to be a little more open, and also remember that they're a teenager or they're a child. So they're thinking the way a teenager and child does, and their world is a lot harder than our parents' world was. Exactly. They have a lot more things to get into, a lot more avenues to go through, and even the children that are in school today, they're just not the same. No. They have a whole different mindset. So you have to take that into consideration too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you know, it's with my parents, I understood what they would try to do, because there is some instances where, you know what, it is my rules in this house is going to be followed. There's no question about it. That I understand. But I'm just, you know, talking about, because I know some parents go, well, Sundin, what are you saying? I can't have rules in my house. No, it's in terms of how to speak to a child. You know, you're their parent, right? And I think as a parent, the worst thing you could do is be so harsh on them for certain things, to reject them, because they're going to talk to somebody about it, right? And then, you know, you don't want them to go to the wrong person, because the wrong person is just going to give wrong advice most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. The good advice that person could give is say, look, I know you're going through this, but try to talk to your mom about it. You know, they'll send you back to the parent.
Right.
Have some, it's not always the case. They're going to say, well, look, man, nah, your mom tripping. You know, they're going to try to create that enemy in a parent to, you know, kind of make the mom and the son, or the dad and the son or daughter and whatnot, to come at odds. So that's what I'm meaning. That's what I believe in Sis is saying as well, is that transparency, where it's like, stop making it seem like you're perfect to your kids. Let your kids know that you're not perfect. Let your kids know that you have things you're struggling with like crazy. Ask your kids, hey, if they know the word of prayer, ask your kids, keep me in prayer. It doesn't belittle you as a parent. You get what I'm saying? I think parents think it belittles them. Or why do I got to ask my kid for prayer? You could ask anybody who knows the word of prayer and who has to pray for prayer. You know, so, but in terms of something what you said, you know, earlier, it's, and I would like to know how you did it, in a sense, because today, once again, it's so different, you know, where you have some younger sisters and younger brothers. How can they really understand where, okay, I'm in school and there's that limit where this is my friend from school versus I'm kind of like embodying them like a brother and sister? Because you have some where the excuse would be is, oh, why is she brother so-and-so and sister so-and-so? They hang out with their, you know, sinner friends all the time. I don't see why I can do it. Or it's what they see, you know, or what they're thinking that's being done. Because a lot of this younger generation, they're much more weaker, much more vulnerable as well. And you said in terms of know how to, you know, pick your friends, know what you want around you, understanding what you want around you. How can a kid do that from a 14 to 15-year-old when because not all parents can give that because of how they came up? Because the way my parents came up, kids, the chores kids were having at 8, 9 years old, it's what a chore what maybe like a 16, 17-year-old will have in Canada or America. You have 8, 9-year-olds in Haiti, they have to do the dishes, they got to go do the laundry, they got to go do, because it was there. So that maturity, you know, was a bit different. So I think when parents come here, they're like, oh, how come my kid is 13, 14? Like, well, what's going on? Why aren't they like this? Why aren't they like that? How can, you know, a kid say, you know what, this is the type of friend I want around me, and this is the type of friend I'm not going to want around me? How did you do it, and how can they do it? Because every kid is different, of course.
I think, and let me go back even to like before, with just like having an open conversation. I think parents also have to be able to have like some downtime with their kids. Like, you can't always be the mom and dad that's telling them, go clean this, go get your homework done. Like, that's just giving out orders. They gotta have the downtime with you, because that kind of breaks the tension that is there between an adult and a child, so that they are a little more open with you. And then you have time to have those conversations about what kind of friends you should look for. What is a friend and what is not a friend? Because even with my students, they're so young. So I kind of have the responsibility of teaching them what school is all about, what school is all about. And I have to constantly tell them what is a friend and what is not a friend. A friend doesn't get you in trouble. A friend doesn't put their hands on you. A friend doesn't keep saying sorry, but you still are doing the same thing. Like a friend is looking out for your best interest. And that is a conversation that parents should have with their kids. What is a friend? What should you look for? What do you think is a good friend? And then also you got to teach them to have self-awareness, because a certain friend to me might not be the same friend to you. Something that I might allow my friends to do to you, it might be offensive. So you have to also kind of learn yourself a little bit and figure out, well, what do you like? Do you like when people, for instance, crack jokes on you? Because see, for me, that's we're not friends. Don't be cracking on me all day. That's just one of my things. But to other people, they love it. Like, yes, let's just sit around and crack jokes on each other. Like that is a friend to them. So you have to also see what are some things you can handle as a friend and you're looking for it in a friend, but what are some things you like? What makes you happy? What builds you up? Because that's what you need to look for in other people. So those conversations have to be had. And I think sometimes adults and sometimes parents kind of think kids just know it. They don't just know it. A lot of things you have to explicitly say, this is how it should be done. And then when you're done saying it, you also need to show it. If you got friends coming around, how do your friends treat you? Don't tell me that this is how I should choose a friend, and then I see your best friend, who you claim is your best friend, always doing things to you that you don't like, or y'all always arguing, or whatever the case may be. So it goes both ways. You got to actually talk and lay this thing down detail for detail, but then show it to me too. I should be able to see, oh, mom's friend treats her pretty well. When mom was sick, she brought her some soup over, or she, called and checked in on her, was there when mom, gave birth to me. She was the support. Like those things they need to see. So you got to tell them and you got to show them. And I think parents are often missing either part. Either you're not showing it, but you have a whole lot of good words, or you're not saying it, but you are showing some things, and maybe the things you're showing is really not what you want them to have or to look out for.
Wow. And so now, having that advice in terms of, getting that friends and so forth, how does one do it when they just come into First Church? Because I know that's a struggle people have. It's like some people, they don't know how, because look, I think when some people, they come in, I think they believe maybe us in First Church, we can't even breathe, like we don't do things and stuff like that. Like, oh, everybody says, me, when I just came in, it was a very, or when I went to headquarters in Philly for the first time, man, it was very lonely. It was really like, man, nobody's really, saying like hi, like greetings and stuff. Like I just wasn't used to that. I was coming for the word and stuff, so it didn't really affect me much, but it's something that did catch my attention. And I'm just an outgoing person, but I'm not one that I love to, or I will in any case have to force that friendship, now that I'm in First Church, oh, we're brothers now, or, hey sister, we should hang out every day and so forth. How did you do it coming into Truth, and how can one do it when they come? Because I know that's a struggle a lot of people have it, because there's so many, young brothers and sisters, but it's kind of like all over, but nobody really knows each other. And you have some maybe in the temple they go to, not all, some of them barely know each other. Maybe activities aren't being done, or maybe they just don't know how. So when someone just comes into First Church, how can they develop that relationship or friendship, I should say, with that brother or with that sister?
I think that first, of course, know what you're looking for, but you have the part where you also don't want to assume that just because everybody's in the church, that everybody is friend material. Because we can be brothers and sisters, but that doesn't mean that everybody is friend material. So you can go ahead, and I think that, don't be afraid to say greetings to somebody. Don't be afraid that if you know somebody's name, to say greetings and say their name too, because that makes that person feel like, oh, wait a minute, they know my name, but I don't know theirs. Let me find out what theirs is, and take the time to kind of like get to know certain things about brothers and sisters. So I think the thing with a lot of the churches is that sometimes they're not always as friendly, or they don't come off always as friendly because they themselves are trying to protect themselves, which is a needful thing. You know, you do got to kind of protect yourself. So even when seeking for friends, you can't wear everything on your sleeve. You can't wear your emotions on your sleeve. And you can't just assume that all the friends that you're going to get are going to be the kind of friends that you really want in church. So go ahead and, you know, greet brothers and sisters and learn their names. And, you know, even us that are in the church have to be a little more diligent about greeting visitors and learning their name and taking the time out to make them feel welcome, so that we're doing it on both ends. So that people can get to know one another. But also, I would say, don't be so quick to be like, you know, like you said, oh, let's hang out, let's do this, don't be so quick to do that, because even though we're in church is pulling people from all over the place, and they're pulling out all kinds of people. So you still want to make sure that you are picky about, I guess, who you would get close to, or some people like to tell all their business to people. Like, some people just like to talk, but you got to be careful. You can't talk and tell everybody all your business about everything just because y'all are in church together. So even in church, you do want to be careful about how you interact with friends. But I would say on both sides, the people that are in church, we got to do a better job of just kind of like greeting each other and taking the time out to show each other that there is love there. You know, we're all in this together, and we're all trying to make it in, and we're all trying to be saved. So we do understand a lot about each other. So we can go ahead and go the extra mile and kind of greet each other a little bit more. And visitors as well, don't be afraid to greet people and to say greetings and say hi and go to the different events. And I can say, because I'm the youth president for headquarters, and we have a lot of youth. But the sad thing is, if we do an event, you don't get a lot of participation. So I would say, as parents, bring your children out. Like, as a parent, they do need to know one another. Children, teenagers, all of them. Bring them out to those events. It shouldn't be the same families there all the time. They know each other already. Like, the new people need to learn each other. And it's not always for the new people. And I think sometimes people that have been in a church for a while are kind of like, they are struggling with finding friends and getting close to people, but yet you don't go the extra mile to go to certain events where you can not only learn people that's been in church for a while with you, but you can also learn new people as well. So I would say, even in that, parents should bring their kids out some more. Some of those teenagers that don't want to do nothing, because that's how teenagers are. They're just like, no, I just want to stay in my room and relax and do my own thing. Bring them out sometimes so that they can get to see that we don't just go to church and leave. There are kids, and they like to have fun, and they like to do things, and teenagers that have the same interests as you. And at least, you know, if you guys do hang out or whatever the case may be outside of church, you kind of have that same background. You all know what's being taught. So you all know what you should be doing and what you should not be doing. And there are things outside of church that you can do. But I think that sometimes some people that have been there for a while don't always come out and support those events. So sometimes you might get either the same families, or you get some new people, but who are they going to mingle with? But themselves. So then everybody goes back to church on Sunday and still don't know anybody. So I think just across the board, people have to do better on both sides.
No, absolutely. You know, in terms of, because we're not saying go to church to make friends. That's not the case. You know, you go to church, you get the word, but there's no problem on fellowshipping with one another and to know one another and so forth. But when events come, like the one that's coming this Friday, if I'm correct, December 31st, Relationships and Holiness, now it's going to even be available on Zoom. You know, if those of you who can, make the time to come up, because yes, we're going to have that conversation, but now maybe you may see a sister may see another sister, where you can message that sister, hey, greetings, sis, sister so-and-so, hope I'm not coming off too strong, whatever the case is. I like what you said during the Relationships and Holiness. I was wondering, just dwell into that. Of course, it's not everybody you can do it with, because some people, are they coming as imposers? Absolutely. Are there people that are coming in just to see the hype. Of course, you have some that are in there sincerely wanting to be right, wanting to strive. And if they could be around others who want to do the same, it is an encouragement. It can help. It really can help. So I remember I was getting Brother Mark Moretti's testimony. He was saying when he was working the night shift at Home Depot, he said there was a brother, I think the brother's in First Church now as well today. He said that brother was looking at him for 1 year, just 1 year, just how he was conducting himself, how he was being, all because he wanted to see if this change was for real. You know what I mean? So now him coming into it and doing that, it creates a fellowship atmosphere, whether before when he came and after as well. Because those who know Brother Mark, he's an outgoing brother. You understand? He left and right, ha ha ha, he. So, but of course, is it everybody like that? No. But then you may have some, hey brother, I was kind of like watching you for a year. Hey, what are you watching me for, yo? Well, mind your business, fam. What do you think? You may have something say, whoa, no, he wasn't watching you like that, brother. Let him finish talking. You get what I mean? So it's just to build that fellowship. And look, as I say to parents all the time, or moreover, the more your kids are not able to find brothers and sisters in the faith where they can fellowship with or hang out with, they're going to find it from outside. Matter of fact, some of them probably have more outside than they do within, because they feel as though, man, I come within, they don't want to do nothing. They're always whatever. Everybody wants to stay in their room. Nobody wants to, but here, my friends, in school, in the world, we're hanging out all the time. We're going, and I'm not saying it's wrong in terms of one may, as long as it does not contradict in the scriptures where they hang out together. But how it is, especially when, it's easy for a kid to be tied and pulled into this world. As PJ says, and it's something he said that I've never heard come out of a mouth of any preacher. Most false churches, if not all, they always say this world has nothing to offer you. Come and be with Jesus. He will save you. He will keep you. Don't worry, the world has nothing to offer. Then you hear the man of God and say that's a lie. This world has a lot to offer, and which it does. This world has more to offer, as Tiyana was saying, than what the parents had years ago. I think even like Google started in 2010. YouTube started these are young things still, they didn't have that 30, 40 years ago. But as today, there's so much things that the world can offer. And I don't want to see, my young brother or young sister get tied up into the world or into the friends there, because it just takes steps, soon enough, they were never, all of a sudden they had their head covered. They were nice. All of a sudden now they kind of want to, I don't know about this head covering no more. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I need it no more. Then after that, it goes to, man, is listening to Christian rap that bad? Then next thing you know, is listening to rap. Is it that bad? And it just keeps going and going and going. So whenever the opportunity does come, have the youth come out, just, listen to what this could be, ask the questions they may have, and don't, as a parent, think, well, my kid is a quiet kid, I don't think they're going to want to partake in that. You never know. Your kid is probably just quiet with you. I know kids, they're just quiet at home. And then when the parent sees them with me, they're like, this is my kid? Say, yeah, but they're so quiet at home. Well, yeah. I mean, they're quiet at home and so forth. But myself, because I like to bring, energy out kids and so forth. So they may just be quiet with you at home. But out there, it could be a whole different story. Now, sis, in terms coming in, you're ready, growing up strict, but now that strictness, it helps you come into something that is more strict. From the time you've come in to Holiness, how has the growth been in terms of with baptisms? Because I think I was watching a video maybe a month, 2 months ago, where PJ was saying, it was an end of year service. I think he was saying, like 13 were going down in water in the name of Jesus Christ. And then I look at today, where it could be one service, 78 goes down in water, 100 and something goes down. Like from since you came in and up to now, how has that growth been like? What was it like when you came in, like the souls going down and, the growth, and then to all the way till today, December 27th, right now?
It has grown a lot, and it seems like it's happening so fast that in my mind I'm like, I don't even see how it can get bigger. But I know that it will, and I actually help with the baptism team. So when I first started, the only time we might see like maybe 20 or 30 go down in water is if we had a convocation and in like another place when we were like holding the convocations in different places and not at headquarters. Then you would see a lot. But now it's like he can go to any state and it's like 120 there, 180 there, just so many people getting baptized, so many people. It just constantly grows. And I remember when we first joined First Church, we were at headquarters on Frankfurt, but they were in a basement. So we joined when they were looking for like another place to be at. And you know, you read the Bible and you see how like the church was growing and how they were building stuff, and they just kept moving. It just kept getting bigger and bigger. So to be a part of being in the basement of Frankfurt and then now at Lindley and seeing how not only for headquarters, but seeing other temples be built from like the ground up or renovated. And that is just like the coolest thing to me, because there are a lot of things that I thought was just for the Bible time. Like, yeah, that's just for the Bible, 3,000 souls saved. Like, that's just the Bible, but like, that doesn't happen today. But no, it's really happening today. So I understand more and more what it means to have a man of God over you and what it means to have an apostle, and how, like he was teaching recently, you know, just how the works follow the title that he has. And you can just see the difference. You can see how this thing is exploding, and you pray for him so much because you're like, God has to be with him, because in order for him to do get this stuff done and the accomplishments, and then still be over all of these temples that's continuing to grow, that is a lot. And I just can't imagine, like he also often talks about like the physical stress on his body and the mental stress, because it is a lot. And then it just keeps growing. And, you know, I enjoy doing baptisms because a lot of time the visitors that come in, those are the same ones that you help, you know, get dressed and ready for baptisms and fill out their form. And they remember you because, like for many of us, that was such a big moment to make up in your mind to be baptized. And then, so you remember the people that helped you in that really big, special moment. But even when sometimes I count up when Brother James has to do the count and to give to Pastor Janice before the telecast, and sometimes I'm counting it up with them and adding it. And it's like, this is just 1 week, There are 2 weeks and you got 200, 300 people in total all over the world. It really is a beautiful thing, but it is mind blowing. No, it is a lot. It definitely keeps growing a lot.
No, absolutely. No, I think one of the, you know, greater experiences I had in First Church is when I was ushering at the end of the year, and it was a family that came in. They just came in and said, hey, we're looking to get baptized. So it's people, they're already coming as pastors preaching. Like, so they're not even there yet. People are just coming just to get baptized. The message did not go yet, nothing. But because of what they heard on several times, maybe on YouTube or through a family friend or you know, a member, a family member, whatnot, giving them a telecast, it's like they just come in. It's like, no, we come to get baptized. I've never ever in my life. And another thing as well, it's that eagerness where people come in, because ushers, you want to be there as early as possible. Listen, when I was coming in, I still had those habits, you know, from falsehood, because look, church starts at 10, get up at 9, you know what I'm saying, do my thing, maybe leave 9:30, you know, get there 9:45, 9:50. There's always going to be a seat. There ain't going to be nothing, you know, you just get there. And I believe it was like when my first time I went to end of year service, kind of like, you know, same habits were there. You know what I'm saying? All right, service, you know, prayer starts at this time. I got inside because that time they were in the gymnasium. The lower auditorium was not even done yet. I get inside the gym. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me right now. So what is this? So I had to be in the upstairs room and but still able to get the word. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And then as years went on, I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, and those of you watching from outside, if you're not, especially Sunday mornings, Saturdays too, if you're not up like at 5 a.m, ready to go, listen, service is at 10. Prayer starts at 11, 10 or 11. Listen here, 10 or 11 prayer starts at. I'm up from 5 a.m. and I'm asking myself, I said, it could only be God's church where something like this could happen. And when you're getting it, because I remember I got there extra early, and I'm like, it's people that are coming in after. You know, when you just get there some places and you just get there too early and you're like, man, I could have came an hour, 2 hours later. You have people flooding, coming in so early in the morning. And then what are they doing? They're not coming in, talking and chatting. As soon as they come in, they're hitting their knees, going flat on their face. And it's experiences I have and I've seen. It's like, I've never, ever in my life, ever seen something like this, where the eagerness of people just to come to hear the word of God. I've never, ever seen something like this. So when you see the growth as you did, sis, it's a very beautiful thing. I mean, I wasn't in it for the 20 or so years that most people have, where they've seen it, from down and all the way up. But it's a very beautiful thing to see. But being in such, wonderful gospel, a wonderful ministry, wonderful, and being under such an actual godly leader in Pastor Jennings, how grateful are you to God for the man of God? Now, you didn't have upbringing like some others had, where they fell into some very different type of stuff, where drugs and prostitution, stuff like this, clubbing and partying and smoking and drinking. You didn't fall into that. You were up on structured teaching, and then you went from something, as I said, that was strict to stricter. How grateful are you to God for the man of God, constantly just feeding the people, not even change, like, and that's another thing you could answer as well. Within the years being in here, have you even seen PJ change just a little bit? Have you seen him like change his message just a little bit? Just a tiny.
Only in a good way. Like, only in a good way. Like, and that goes to like being grateful, because like I said, I started out young. And so, I would do things like read the Bible and just read chapters at a time, or read it front to back. And I remember thinking, like, if I read the Bible front to back, and if I read the same chapter over and over again, I think I'm going to like know enough and know everything and be bored. Like, that just was my thinking. Like, I read the whole thing, so what else am I going to get here? But thank God for First Church, because now it's like, even like yesterday when he did Psalms 23, it's like such a common chapter that people just talk about all the Lord. That is a common thing. And but to hear him break it down in just ways that your mind was not even going. Your mind was not even going there. And I already know if he teaches the same exact chapter again, it's going to be so much more exactly, that he's going to pull out of it by God. So that is one thing that I'm grateful for, because now it's like there's just so many possibilities in my life, and everything is just endless, because I just learned so much about who God is and all that he's able to do, and just how great he is, how powerful he is, but how you can really look to God for every single thing, like every single thing. So there is no limit on what I can do if God would just be with me, if he would just help me, then I can just accomplish all the dreams I want to accomplish and do the things I want to do. And most importantly, be saved. But I know so much now. Like, I know so much, and I know beyond just the words of what the Bible says, but I understand it more and more. And in my head, it's just like all of this knowledge and all these things that I know about truth and about holiness, and it's constantly growing. And I'm thankful because, like I said, at one point I was like, well, I'm going to read the same words over and over again. So how am I going to get any more from it? And now I can just see how in God, how just it's like an endless growth that you are always taking part in, an endless getting better at this, getting more knowledgeable about that, pulling this off, changing that, taking that on. Like it's an endless work that you're doing on yourself. And you, of course, have many times that are very low and are very hard and rough to go through. But when you get your highs, like when you get that thing you've been praying for years and God answered it, or that thing you've been struggling with for years and God brought you through it, or while you're in the middle of a struggle and then the word comes like it did yesterday, like it's just so much, so many possibilities, not only naturally, but spiritually. So I'm grateful that because I feel like I can just thrive, like your podcast. I feel like that. I feel like I can just flourish and I can grow in so many areas of my life, so many different areas of my life, just for being under the truth of God. And not only am I being taught the truth, but I'm actually under an apostle, which again, in my head was just, oh, that was for the Bible. You know, the 12 apostles, you know, just 12, the 12 apostles, that was for the Bible. Not only learn about the other apostles and to actually be under one, and then to actually look it up and only be 30 minutes away. That is a lot of God's mercy, because there are people who are far from him, and you're relying heavily on the YouTube and heavily on the broadcast. And I get to see this man on Sundays when he is there, and I can travel if God allows me to travel, and I can hear the truth through YouTube when I'm not in church, and I get to see you on Thursdays, which is a whole nother type of teaching. So I'm blessed not only to be under an apostle, but God blessed me to be really close. So that is another thing that's like, well, I could be one of the ones in a different state, in a different country, but I'm close. So now you're grateful, but then you're like, okay, so you better get it together because you don't got no excuse. God put you right there, so you got no excuse. But I've learned so much, and I'm thankful for that, because I know and understand now that and there's no such thing as like getting bored, and there's no such thing as like knowing it all. And I read that chapter already. I already know what it says. It's just so much more. And every time you come and you hear, you just say, I didn't know that. I never thought about it that way. And a lot of stuff that kind of sticks with you. So I thank God for that.
No, that's wonderful. And as you said, Psalm 23, that's a scripture. It's so common in Haiti, where there's a singer. He literally made a song out of it in French, because it's just, we say it, but there's nothing being broken down, and we're all just in joy of it. But the way my days, those of you, I'm telling you, moreover, just listen to the apostle preach. Just listen to the teachings. See for yourself if what he's saying is scriptural or not. Because, there's a lot of people, they fight me on this of why, I'm in something like this and so forth. I guess it's about how I was and whatnot. But, it's not just myself. I bring people moreover, and they're sharing their goodness. They're sharing their testimonies. Real people, real truths, sharing their gratitude for what God is doing today. Because, as the good food we're getting, you and I, sis, and the rest of the brothers and sisters, there's people, they're still trapped. They're still in like that bondage mentality. And I don't look down upon them. I ask God, if it be your will, God, deliver them out of that. Because I think it's easy to look down. I think that's what something your mom was saying she struggled with, where it was quick for her to look down on somebody. But then when she realized she had to look at herself real quick, and it's something I believe she said helped her raising all her children, where before I'm going to go and on my child, I was a kid too. I know what I was doing as a kid and so forth. So I am very grateful and thankful, sis, for you coming on and sharing your testimony. Something you said so good, and I know that's another thing people kind of have, they struggle with, is where it's a endless knowledge. It's endless teaching, where, because you have some, they read it, that's the understanding that they feel that they got, and they're sticking to that. I'm not gonna let no apostle come and tell me this. He's right on this, but this, I have my conclusions to this. And there's people that have that struggle as well. you know but in terms of you growing up in something strict, being in something from such a young age, and still having all this gratitude, still you yourself saying, man, there's so much to learn. For somebody's in it for 1 month, 2 months, oh, I heard this, I done heard that, I done heard that, I done heard this. It's really a beautiful thing. And uh brothers and sisters, keep Sister Tiyana in prayer, that she may continue to strive and hold on to God's unchanging hand. Keep myself and my family in prayer, her family as well, that, we continue to strive and hold on to God's unchanging hand. Also, keep Bishop Taylor in prayer, as Bishop Taylor um, has been ill for some time. So keep him in prayer. I can't get every single name and so forth. So let's keep one another in prayer, and the rest that are sick, whatever struggles they have, let's sincerely keep one another in prayer. Because for me, my desire is to make the first resurrection. That's my desire. There's nothing more important. There's nothing even equal to importance to me, but to make that. So sincerely, let's keep one another and pray for that. Sis, thank you very much for coming on
You're
and
welcome.
sharing, your testimony, giving some nice and concrete advice. Hope parents watching this were able to get something out of it. I hope kids watching this were able to get something out of it as well. It's just a blessing where someone could come on and give knowledge and give bits and pieces of their testimonies as well. As I said, moreover, those of you from the outside watching, this is not a gossip podcast or anything like that. And don't be confused. These are all people who are testifying coming into one church. So it's not like a Baptist and, Pentecostal. No, it's all coming to one church. And that is the truth of God First Church of our Lord Jesus Christ. We're the leader, teacher, and guide as Apostle Pastor Gino Jennings. Don't forget, this Friday, December 31st at 11 a.m., you can go on Zoom, contact your local secretary for the temple you go to. We're going to be talking about relationships in holiness. Send this out in terms of getting sister so-and-so's daughter could come out, or brother so-and-so's son could come out. It's going to also be on Zoom. So I don't know what excuse, you may have. You may have work or something like that, but who knows? But still, I don't have no excuse not to be there now. You feel me? So please join. I believe it's going to be great. Thank you for listening, brothers and sisters. Like, share, subscribe, send this out, this shit left and right with your family, your friends, and so forth. And once again, let's keep one another in prayer. Thank you for listening. It's your boy, Sundin Esperance. God bless and peace be unto you.